Good morning. It's time for Two Guys on Sports. I'm Larry Hazer.
I'm Dick Olson. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Dick. And, we started last week with the WIS Sports spring, their football rankings. Not really spring, I guess.
Yeah,
it's,
kind of a preseason kind of deal.
Yeah.
And
before the season starts here in a few weeks.
And we brought up that, WIS Sports Net is kind of name conscious. So,
yeah, they go by kind of what happened last year.
And that's not necessarily going to be the case, but in a lot of cases, these teams will be competitive and be in the playoff hunt, though. So.
Sure. We finished with Division 5, so we'll go to Division 6, where our couple of area teams right on the top.
Yeah, Mondovi at number 1, and they've got 8 starters back on defense, Larry, and their whole offensive line. But one thing, we have talked about this numerous times. They have to replace a starting quarterback, running back, and tight end. And I tell you, you don't come into a season without an experienced quarterback. I just think that that puts you behind the 8 ball for the first few games. So
yeah, and of course Mondovi last year lost to Neillsville Grant and kind of resulted in a shared title instead of taking that title.
But then the next week, to their credit, they went up to Carson Park and knocked off Regis. So very sound program down there. There's no they really believe in the run. Not a big passing team, but. Run game and defense, and it's produced a lot of wins for them over the years. So.
Yeah, and speaking of Regis, they come in at number 2 in Division 6.
Yeah, and there they've got some skilled people back. Starting quarterback Owen Weisenberger, and then running back Everett Tate, who is a speedster. They will be back, but Regis with only 4 starters back each on offense and defense. So looking at the comments from Coach Brian Brenner, he said, this is as empty as their cupboard's been in a long time. So
that doesn't happen very often there.
And you think about it, Larry, too. Last year, teams were very competitive with them.
Yes, they were.
They didn't have those games where they could bring in their second stringers the whole second half and play. They did not get the experience for those kids that they have in previous years. So
Regis and Mondovi, top 2 preseason in Division 6. Of course, they both come out of the Clarabelle Conference, which we talked about last week.
Yeah, and then you throw in Stanley Boyd into that, and among others. Durand, Arkansas should be much improved this year, and it's going to be and another team to don't sleep on is Elk Mound.
I was just going to say,
they finished strong last year, and they have a lot of people back. They're going to be tough, and to anybody who's got to go in their house, they're tough. So.
All right, you look down the list here at Auburndale coming in at number 6.
Yeah, and Auburndale, 27 juniors and seniors on their roster, so they are going to be very experienced. They do have to replace a quarterback, but Coach Jay Anderson has just come miles on that program. It wasn't that many years ago, Larry, that they were an 8-man football.
Right.
Trying to build up a program. Yeah. And since they've gotten back into 11-man, they have been very strong. Now they're going into the new conference, too, this year, so they're going into the Central Wisconsin Small, but so they're going to bang heads with Edgar and Pacelli, among others. So
yeah, it'll be a little different look for them as far as conference-wise, but as you mentioned, a lot of experienced players back, upperclassmen back for that team. So. Some other teams to watch in that Division 6 field, some names that are familiar, Abbotsford, Cadott, Marathon in that mix too as well. And, again, we'll see how it all pans out as the season goes on.
You bet. So.
In Division 7, we look at there, and another local team, no surprise, always on near the top, Edgar.
And oftentimes when Edgar wins a championship the next year, they are down a little bit, but they do have 4 starters back on defense, 5 on offense, but they are missing Carter Butt. They've lost their quarterback, Street, and also a couple of big guys on their offense line. They've got 3 kids playing in the All-Star game this weekend, so,
it'll be a little different look for them.
But, Coach Sins always seems to find the running back to carry the load. Street's younger brother will be the quarterback this year, so they are going to be tough, but are they number 1? We don't know. We'll see. But number 2, the team that they defeated last year, Black Hawk Warren, is number 2. So we'll see there too. So, but
Iowa Scandinavia, another one of those teams in this area that they're right up there.
Yeah, they've been strong all the years. So at number 5, Boyceville. Now you and I had a chance to watch Boyceville last year against Edgar. And of all the teams that played Edgar last year, they were the team that was most successful on offense against Edgar. They put up 26 points against Edgar last year. Nobody else put up more than 6. So.
That defense for Edgar was tough.
Yeah, so very, very good offensive program up at Boyceville. So
All right, then we go down the line here, and some of the teams to watch in Division 7. They have Loyal Greenwood in there. They just have Loyal. They don't have Loyal Greenwood.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know where they fall, if they would fall into 6 or 7. That's probably going to come after the season starts. A new co-op, so, but I don't see them being a 7. It'd be a high 7, I think, if anything.
Right.
So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, they did come out. Wish Sports did come out with where they think the teams are going to fall as far as enrollment. And I know they have Neillsville Granton right now in a high Division 6.
6, yeah. And Edgar Regis, of course, Regis is going up to 6. We forgot to mention that because of the competitive balance thing. But, it just seemed like Neillsville was a team that slipped down a little bit there. So
and again, that could change when playoffs come because of who's
in it, and then they're actually going to get the actual enrollment numbers here right after the first of the year, after the school starts too. So
all right, then 8-player football. A number of area teams have gone to 8-player, and
it shows in the rankings.
Yeah, you see the preseason rankings, and McDonald Central number 1, and they got a lot of talent.
All their skill people were back. They made a run at the end of the day. They struggled early in the year, but they made a run. They lost to Thorpe in the level before this championship game, 24-20. And they have just about everybody back this year, so they are going to be a force up there. So,
and then Gilman, another team that really has adapted well to that 8-player football.
Coach Rosemeyer does a great job in that, and they have 4 starters back on offense, 6 starters on defense. That's a lot of defensive players back in 8-man football.
And that's you could use them in 8-man football.
Yeah.
Thorpe, another team that's in the top 10 at number 6.
Be interesting. They lost a couple. They've got some nice receivers back, but they lost their quarterback and. Also, their best wide receiver and their best lineman, and as you'll see, they'll be in the All-Star game this weekend.
There's another team,
But Coach Stokes, I think, has got a good thing going up there, and we will see.
Owen Withy, a team that was third in the CWC 8 last year, and another team that has gone to that 8-player and hasn't done too bad.
Yeah, Coach Lauby, with strong running game background, has just really adapted really well to the 8-man, and they have 5 starters back on offense, 4 on defense, too. So they're going to be a force. And Coach Lauby does a great job up there.
Oh, yeah. So. Always gets the best out of his athletes. Newman Catholic, another area team, ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, normally they've been perennial, but they slipped some last year. So we'll see what then. But then Athens, Phillips, Port Edwards, Alma Center, Lincoln, all on the watch list this year.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And more teams, it seems, are going to 8-player football.
Our area here, we talk about – we went through the D7 teams, Larry. Hardly anybody that we would even think about calling a game for.
Right.
Because just about everybody has either went to a co-op or an 8-man game. So,
All right. So there it is. Those are the preseason rankings for this coming year. And we talked football, and we got the Wisconsin Football Coaches Association All-Star Games tomorrow and Saturday over at Titan Stadium in Oshkosh.
Yeah, tomorrow night the 8-man guys will go. And got nice representation there. 3 gentlemen from Thorpe. Logan Hansen, very strong year last year. And I forget where he's going to college, but he had an offer. He's going to college. And along with Denzel Sutton, just a tremendous receiver, but also a tremendous defensive player, too. And then Dorian Nicias is also there. So, and then Wesley Eddy from McDonald, Colin Dahlman from Owen Withy, Troy Duhlman from Gilman, and Ryan Nelson from Owen Withy. So very strong local presence on there. And then, of course, Keldrick Stokes from Thorpe is the head coach. And then one of his assistants, Jimmy Lane, is an assistant, along with Albert Gerlitz from Owen Withy. There's a kid who played in the game and now is going to coach in the game.
Yes. And Paul Micklig from Newman Catholic, also in that coaching squad.
And long time. He has done. You talk about people who've coached well at 8-man right there.
Yes, indeed. Yes. All right, so then the small school all-star game is at noon on Saturday, and another pretty good representation there
Ian Andrews,
on the North squad.
Ian Andrews, the fine running back from Regis. Carter Butt, what can we say about that kid, Larry? He just was all-world running back and defensive player for Edgar last year. Harrison Gravine, fine offensive lineman and a kicker from Edgar. Kohler Kilty, he was kind of the bell cow for Stratford in the backfield. Gavin Lennart, who kind of was the head of their defense last year at Stratford. Austin Remington, the fine tight end from Mondovi. And then Tegan Street, who was the quarterback and a defensive back for Edgar. And then Chase Sturm from Stanley Boyd, who was a tremendous pass rusher last year for the Orioles. So
yeah, and you look at some of these. You mentioned Tegan Street as a quarterback, but he's going to be playing defensive back.
And I see they also got Carter Butt, I believe, as an inside linebacker. I believe.
Okay.
So you don't know what you're going to play.
Right.
And one thing when I've noticed watching these games over there, these kids do not go both ways.
Oh, okay.
They
got enough players.
Yep. So
they can specialize on there,
which is kind of neat, and then kind of gets them ready for college ball if anybody goes on. But for many of them, this is their last hurrah. Too,
they're all seniors, by the way, in these all-star games.
Yep. So a couple of guys from the area as assistant coaches for the small school. Chris Twicki from Edgar, Nick Sturm from Stanley Boyd are assistant coaches, and then Mike Olson from Pepinelma is the head coach. So,
all right. Okay, so that'll be the small schools. They'll be at noon, and then the large schools will be Saturday at 4.
Yep.
And there are a few guys on that North large squad from our area.
Yeah, Carter Emerson from Wausau West, Max Dietman from Medford, Aston Fisher from Wisconsin Rapids, Ammon Konopacki from Stevens Point, or Ray Reinick from Wausau West, and Braylon Smola from Stevens Point. And then, you can tell you don't have a lot of schools, large schools up here north, because the head coach of the north team is from Slinger, which is 15 miles north of Milwaukee.
Yeah, there's not a lot of D1 schools around
and that's Bill Jacklin, by the way. Ryan Eisenberger from Stevens Point, and Matt Hawley from Stevens Point, and Chris Lucas from Antigo are all assistant coaches on that staff. So.
All right, and again, those all-star games on Saturday, by the way, will be shown live on Bally Sports.
Yep.
And the 8-player game will be on Zaleski Sports.
On Zaleski, I believe. I'm not sure, but the 8-man game might be on Bally too Friday night. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because there is no Brewer game Friday night.
No, that's right. They don't play till Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
the games serve as a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, with participating players and coaches raising money for the hospital.
And all these guys visit the hospital when they're down there too. So it's pretty good thing.
You bet.
So,
you bet. Nice thing for the young guys.
Yep. You bet.
Get involved in the community. All right, NBC 26 in Green Bay had a story on the new competitive balance plan that's going to be going into effect for the upcoming academic year with the WIAA, meaning some successful high school teams will now compete against schools as much as 3 times their size. The competitive balance plan goes into effect for the upcoming academic year, meaning, as I said, but back in April of 2023, WIAA member schools voted 265 to 115 to implement a performance factor that would bump up teams that meet a point threshold based on previous postseason success. Teams in bracketed sports like football, basketball, and baseball receive 4 points for a state championship, 3 for a state runner-up finish, 2 for a state semifinal, and 1 for a state quarterfinal appearance. If a team has 6 or more points during a 3-year window, that team is moved up 1 division for the next year. If at the end of the season the team falls back below 6 points, they would return to the previous division. Sports like golf, tennis, and cross country have a slightly different point system, and track and field and swimming and diving are not impacted by that change. Stephanie Hauser, who's the WIAA's executive director, said that for decades, the WIAA used only school enrollment to determine your divisional placement. Now they don't feel it's that simple anymore. She said that more frequent open enrollment, transfers, changing socioeconomics, and access to things like club sports and specialized training as reasons for the change. 63 fall sports teams and 37 winter sports teams met the point threshold for this year. There are concerns that one great class of players could have success and bump a team up, and then those guys are gone, and then the younger players have to face more difficult competition because of that. Some schools have also expressed that a 3-year window is not big enough to determine if a team is consistently good enough to warrant a move up. Hauser says the WIAA's Competitive Balance Committee will continue to look at the system and make changes as they learn more.
I think that 3-year thing is pretty good, though, Larry, because you get one dynamic class in there, and they can.
And it's usually 3 years.
And change it right there. But I think Stephanie Hauser hit right at open enrollment has been a big thing. Club sports. And, I said when the whistle schools came in, too, that has changed things a lot, too. So,
right, yeah.
Yeah,
but... I kind of see where some of these smaller schools, when they got to be bumped up into these divisions, and they're playing some big schools.
Absolutely. But then you see teams in the city that have small enrollment. I go back a few years ago. Auburndale was in a state championship game in basketball in D4, I guess it would have been, and they played Whitefish Bay McKenna City School.
Right.
And they had Diamond Stone, a 6'9" guy who was going D1. Now, is that competitive balance because of school enrollments? I don't
Right.
know. It's
Well, look at Randolph back in the day when they had all
Absolutely.
those tall kids.
Yeah,
Kohler.
absolutely.
I mean, they were small schools, but had really tall kids.
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
Yeah, first of all, that's part of the heritage of that area.
Right.
People say it's the Dutch, but I always had a friend at Partyville who was a coach. And he said they just do things different in Randolph. He goes, it just happened they needed a new minister, and the new minister happened to have two sons that were 6'8". So he goes,
in those cases, I guess you really can't do much about it.
and you talk about Kohler. The Wolf Boys, their dad worked for Kohler, and that's how they got into Kohler. So that's the way it is. So that happens.
Right.
That happens all over the place. So
Yeah.
So
But again, some of these schools, and there are some schools in our area that are going to be bumping up
absolutely.
divisions.
Well, Regis is going up, Stratford is going up, people like that. So and it's not just football either.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It's a point system throughout the.
And I think I think it's a good system. Will it be improved? Probably, but but I think it's a start.
Yeah, we got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
and then just kind of tweak it as you go along.
you bet. So
All right, so there we go. We're talking about high school football. One other note here: the Neillsville boys basketball team went down to Burlington for the Wisconsin Yearbook Tournament and did really well.
absolutely 4-0 down there.
Yeah.
Defeated Clinton 52-39. Palmyra Eagle, and then defeated Franklin, and also Burlington Catholic Central, and Andrew Hazer, the high score in the first three games. But I like that game against Burlington Catholic where he had Landon Rakestraw, who's going to be a freshman to be, and then Caden Stry as the high scorer. So, and I seen the picture on the website, Larry, and to me, the guys in that picture, that if I had to pick who was going to be the varsity for the Neillsville boys, it's pretty darn close.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
in that picture.
Yeah, it's
So that's a good team building activity there. So.
Yep. All right, and they just finished up playing over in Altoona this summer.
Yeah, so they're going to be young this year, but I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So.
All right, there it is. Where are they now? Before we get to some comments from Packer CEO Mark Murphy.
Okay, Larry, I'm going up to Marathon. I'm going to talk about Colin Soibert, a 2013 graduate of Marathon High School. Colin was a 3-year letter winner on the Red Raider football team. His sophomore year, Marathon was 4-5. Colin, as a backup quarterback, completed 20 of 40 passes for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. His junior year, the Red Raiders were 6-5 on the season, qualifying for the WIA Division VI playoffs, where they were defeated in Level 2 by Spring Valley. Colin, now the starting quarterback, completed 110 of 211 passes for 1,422 yards and 18 touchdowns. He also had 25 rushing attempts for 35 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was a first-team selection on the Merriwood Conference All-Conference team. His senior year, Marathon was 7-3 on the season, qualifying for the WIA Division V playoffs, where they lost to Amherst in Level 1. Colin completed 102 out of 187 passes for 1,927 yards and 25 touchdowns. He had 47 rushing attempts for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was a first-team selection on the Merriwood All-Conference team. In the winter, Colin was a 3-year letter winner on the Marathon boys basketball team. His sophomore year, the Red Raiders were 27-1 on the season. They were Merriwood regional and sectional champions, qualifying for the WIA Division IV state tournament, where they defeated Utzberg 68-50 in the semis, and then defeated Grantsburg 52-43 to win the state title. Colin averaged 5.4 points per game on the season. His junior year, Marathon was 16-8 on the season, losing to Stratford in the regionals. Colin averaged 17 points per game and was named first-team All-Conference on the Merriwood South All-Conference team. His senior year, the Red Raiders were 19-5 on the season, losing to Auburndale in the regional finals. Colin averaged 19.6 points per game, which led the Merriwood South. He was first-team All-Conference and a Channel 7 All-Star, and was selected to play in the Wisconsin Basketball Coaches All-Star Game. In the spring, Colin was a 3-year letter winner on the Marathon baseball team. His sophomore year, Marathon was 13-4, losing to Pacelli in the regionals. Colin, as a starter at shortstop, batted .285 with 8 RBIs and was named second team on the Merriwood South All-Conference team. His junior year, Marathon was 19-5, losing in the regional finals to Athens. Colin batted .322 with 1 homer and 19 RBIs. As a pitcher, he was 4-1 on the season. He was named to the first team of the Marywood South All-Conference team. His senior year, the Red Raiders were 14-3, losing to Athens in the regionals. Colin batted .335 with 2 home runs and 24 RBIs. As a pitcher, he was 7-2 on the season. He was named first team All-Conference and was also named Marywood South Player of the Year. During his senior year, Colin was a Wendy's High School Heisman finalist, putting him as among the top 20 student athletes in Wisconsin. He also received the Herb Cole Academic Excellence Scholarship. After graduation, Colin enrolled at the Milwaukee School of Engineering and joined the Raiders basketball team. His freshman year, the Raiders were 21-5. Colin averaged 6.7 points and 2 rebounds per game. His sophomore year, MSOE was 13-13. Colin averaged 8.8 points and 3.5 rebounds per game. His junior year, the Raiders were 15-13. Colin averaged 10.7 points and 4.6 rebounds. He was honorable mention selection on the Northern Athletic Collegiate Conference All-Conference team. His senior year, MSOE was 12-13. Colin averaged 18 points and 8 rebounds per game. He was named to the first team on the All-Conference team. For his career at MSOE, Colin ranks 14th all-time in scoring with 1,088 points, 7th in three-pointers with 154, and 10th in field goals made. On a side note, Colin's coach at Milwaukee was Brian Miller. Brian was head coach at MSOE from 2004 to 2023. Today, he is director of athletic operations at club sports at Milwaukee School of Engineering. Brian Miller's first coaching job was in Loyal in 1987-88. In 1989, his team made the sectional finals. He coached in Loyal through 1991. Colin Seubert graduated from Milwaukee School of Engineering in 2017 with a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering. Today, Colin is a sales engineer for Ryan Toolhouse, based in New Berlin, Wisconsin. Colin resides in Milwaukee. Colin Seubert, Larry. So,
there's a name.
Yeah, Seubert.
Yep.
Seubert, Marathon Basketball.
Yep.
What else can you say?
That's about it, yes. All right, where are they now here on the program? Just a program note once again, August 19th, the date for our coaches show. Talking to some of the area coaches, Gene Delisio, myself, and Jason Zaleski will be there as well.
Yeah, it should be an interesting time. You know, you got Logan Rosemeyer, the new coach at Kobe. Be interested, Chris Littner there, talking about the new co-op.
Yeah.
It should be interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get those guys to come in there. Yep. But again, that's August 19th, and you can hear it on 92.3 FM, WOSQ, and also on ZaleskiSports.com. Well, the Green Bay Packers released their financial report Tuesday afternoon and looked pretty good for last year as they brought in a total revenue of $654 million, which is an increase of $44 million from last year. Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy said the playoff run at the end of the year certainly helped their pro shop sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the whole Titletown thing is really starting to take hold too, Larry. So,
yeah. He says that they will continue to invest in football facilities and in the stadium. And speaking of Mark Murphy, Mike Warren talked with Murphy on Monday as they were at the Packers Hall of Fame golf outing in Green Bay at the Green Bay Country Club. And he talks about the NFL draft coming to Green Bay next year and also about his final year as president and CEO of the Packers.
Let's bring in Green Bay Packer president and CEO Mark Murphy. Welcome back to the golf outing for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, thanhanks. It's great to be here.
All right.
A little hotter than we're used to.
This is not football weather.
No.
This is anything but. But we wanted the NFL draft on everybody's mind. Where are we at in that process?
Well, it's a little less than a year now, and preparations have been really actually been a couple years. It's the league's event, but we'll be actively involved and really excited about it. I think it'll be probably by far the biggest event ever held in Green Bay.
I think in the state.
Oh, yeah, even bigger than the Republican National Convention.
Okay, so from the team standpoint, what happens next from your end?
Regarding the draft?
Yes.
Well, hopefully we're picking 32nd, so we'll. But no, we're again, as I said before, it's really the league's event, so we're working with them, but determining where the stage will be, and I think we have some of those things ironed out. But and this will be the smallest city to host a draft, so it's gonna be great. We'll showcase Wisconsin, but we'll have people staying all over the state. I'm confident.
Right. You can tell us. We won't tell anybody. Where is the stage going to be?
It will be at the best location. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be outside. It won't be in the stadium.
Okay.
It'll be outside.
Outside somewhere. We got to
Yeah.
get all those people in there. All right. How can
But
people?
the stadium will be open so people can go in and watch on the video boards
Oh,
the draft.
awesome. Terrific. How can people start to get involved from a volunteer standpoint? You're going to need people, right?
Yeah, I think if you go on our website, you can go. I think you just type in volunteer draft, and we're going to need a lot of people to pull this off.
Okay. Have you started to wrap your head around this final year of your career here?
I am. I mean, obviously, when I started many years ago, I knew that there was an end point, but it always seemed so far away. But no, I'm excited. I think, particularly, as you mentioned with the draft, but more importantly, I think our team's really poised to have a pretty special year.
Yeah. So the draft, and then what? What's the actual timeline for you and your exit?
Actually, it's the shareholder meeting next summer, so July of 25. So just about a year left, and hopefully go out on a high note. Feel really good about my successor. I think Ed Policy's been in this position and been right there with me for everything the last 12 years. So I think it'll be a pretty smooth transition.
What are Packer fans getting in Ed Policy?
Getting really smart man, knows the business inside out, kind of grew up in the business. His father was a president, not only of the 49ers, but the Browns. He's really community-minded. I think people will be pleased.
All right, that's Mark Murphy, President and CEO of the Green Bay Packers, and it's 1 year, and he's out.
Yeah, 70 is a mandatory limit. I don't know if he gets to stay on his board of directors or not, or who knows. But, he's done a good job. He took over from Bob Harlan, and he's kind of been the force behind as Bob Harlan was the guy behind the stadium and the atrium and all that kind of stuff. Mark Murphy's kind of been the guy behind Titletown. So,
and that all goes back to those days when they needed to find extra ways to make money, and they've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a long time, back Bob Harlan said if we don't do something, we're going to have to build a new stadium or
right.
Yes, absolutely. That was the next word.
Yeah.
And they found a great way to remodel the stadium. They start more and more of the luxury suites, and among other things. And and the atrium and the restaurants are open year round. And now you got Titletown with all the motels, and it's really turning into a good cash cow over there, and that makes your team more competitive.
And now they get the NFL draft next year.
Man,
I don't think they would have had that if they didn't have this Titletown district.
Absolutely not, because first of all, motels are going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
But Titletown is a big draw there. Lambeau Field is a draw in itself, but then you throw in Titletown, and it's just huge. So.
And he did say in that interview that Lambeau is going to be open for draft night.
Yep.
They can watch it on the big screen.
Yeah, it'd be cool. 80,000 seats there.
The Team USA basketball team, which is kind of making a tour, an exhibition before the Olympics, we're down in Abu Dhabi. And, boy, I tell you, they took it to Serbia 105-79.
Yeah, Serbia was supposed to be a team that's pretty competitive.
Yeah.
They've got
They were missing a couple of guys. But
okay.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a pretty power-packed unit for the most part.
Right. And they'll be traveling to London for two more exhibitions starting Saturday against South Sudan.
The WNBA All-Stars, I imagine, that are left are going to play the U.S. national women's team. Mm-hmm. Cheryl Miller is going to coach that team.
Okay.
The great Hall of Famer. So.
All right. Well, yesterday marked 50 days until defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City takes on Baltimore to open the NFL season. And training camps began yesterday. The Houston Texans.
Yep, and the Packers will be Sunday.
Yep.
So, and I thought I seen a note where Family Night, I believe, is pretty well sold out.
Yeah. There's not many tickets left.
Yep. So
check Packers.com if there is any left.
Yeah.
The Packers or Houston and Chicago are starting.
Yeah, they do. They got the Hall of Fame game.
Yep. So. August 1st.
Yeah. You always pick two teams that have people going in. Devin, I'm not sure who's going in for Houston, but Devin Hester is going in as a Chicago Bear.
All right.
A great punt returner. So.
All right. So there it is. The NFL season.
Yep.
High school football.
College will be starting.
Yeah. It's all
happy days, Larry.
Happy days. All right, again, you can check cwbradio.com for any archives of any of the shows that we've had. They're all there.
Email us with any good ideas you've got, too. So.
Yeah, if there's anything that you want us to cover, let us know. That'll do it for Two Guys on Sports for this week. I'm Larry Hazer.
I'm Dick Olson.
We'll talk to you again next week.